Every time a new Souls game is around the corner, the same debate of whether the game should or shouldn't have an easy mode comes up. If you don't know what a Souls game is, I'll catch you up to speed. The Souls games are a series or genre of games that are known for being extremely hard and are some of the most critically acclaimed games of all time. The most famous example is Dark Souls. Ever seen this? The reason this is so iconic is because it's what you see whenever you die in Dark Souls, which you will, a lot. There are 6 games in the Souls series: Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and the upcoming Elden Ring. All of these games are developed by From Software, with the creator of the Souls franchise, Hidetaka Miyazaki, helming the reins every time. I know that I say series when referring to Souls games, but they actually aren't a series. Just games that play very similarly and are all made by the same developer, so everybody just kind of calls them a series. Each Souls game consists of you, the protagonist, having to start with literally nothing, but expected to conquer foes far greater than you. It seems impossible, but when you do get to the end of all that struggle, it will have felt so worth it. Elden Ring is going to come out in January, so that means the age-old question comes back. Should Souls games give players the option to select an easy mode? People who say yes argue that it has everything to do with accessibility, and everybody gets to experience these games to their fullest without the difficulty. While people who say no argue that an easy mode would compromise many of the things that make Souls games so special. Today we'll be breaking down the main points that both sides use in their arguments. That side that says yes will be known as the plaintiff, and the side that says no will be known as the defendant, sort of like the American court system. This does not say anything about either side, it's just to avoid confusion and make this video more entertaining. Starting with the plaintiff. The argument that the plaintiff brings to this case is that an easy mode increases the accessibility of the Souls games. I think that they need a refresh of what accessibility means. Accessibility is when developers add features that give people who couldn't play their games due to physical reasons the chance to actually play their games. Colorblind mode for colorblind people and subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing are all great examples of accessibility options. But accessibility does not come in the form of easy, normal, or hard. Sure, some people might not be able to complete Souls games due to physical reasons, but this is no longer a problem with the difficulty of the game. Instead, a problem with the lack of options within the game for people with disabilities, such as no support for the different controllers. But the majority of the time, the plaintiff is talking about how just some people aren't that great at video games and don't finish Souls games because of how difficult they are. This argument is a very weak one, especially since it is at the forefront of the plaintiff's claim that all Souls games should have easy modes. Next, we have an argument that is commonly used by the defendants. It goes as follows. Souls games don't have an easy mode because you can choose to make the game easier for yourself. This is partially true, since there are a few things you can do. You can choose an overpowered build at the start of the game. Some of the hardest content in Souls games is optional, so you can skip it and come back to it later. Look up guides to help you get through tough bosses or find hidden items. From Software has some official ones for you to use. Use co-op to call in some assistant if needed. There are troves of options available to make the game easier for yourself. But to be fair, they aren't that easy to achieve. Grinding for Souls is very tedious and frustrating, since if you die, you lose all of them. You can't skip optional content, but that doesn't make the mandatory content any easier. Guides might give you the upper hand by showing you a trick or two, but this only goes so far before you're back to getting pummeled. Co-op might not be an option for games with dwindling communities and server shutdowns. The plaintiff will say that people do not want to do any of these things, but then again, they are built in to help you. They don't seem to realize that everybody struggles with the same games. They don't seem to realize that everybody struggles with these games and had to resort to these tactics at some point. You are supposed to struggle in these games in order to have a rewarding experience. For this next argument, I will be using a video from a YouTuber named Laura K. Buzz. She uploaded a video in August titled, "Asking for a Dark Souls easy mode isn't asking not to be challenged." In her video, she states the following.
Many players, myself included, sometimes want easy difficulty modes so that they can have the same challenging experience that you're already having with Dark Souls or Cuphead or Super Meat Boy. We want a challenge that knocks us over again and again, but feels just achievable enough to push through and achieve, rather than something that feels impossibly above our skill ceiling. We want a challenge that's tough, but achievable. Many players like myself sometimes want an easy mode that isn't a total walk in the park.
I can see where she's coming from. This isn't asking for an easy mode, maybe just a not so hard mode. She still wants the same challenge that the defendants have, but since she and the other players, like her, aren't as skilled, maybe a little toned back experience would help them. Some people might not have patience to finish a game like Dark Souls, but still want to experience all the storytelling. After all, only 30% of people ever actually finish Souls games. Then again, it's hard to agree with this when I believe Laura and the plaintiff might be falsely attributing failure to the lack of skill. The defendants have a saying that I agree with. The hardest Souls game is the first Souls game you play. This is due to the unconventional learning curve that all Souls games have. Once you do get over that curve, everything else won't be a piece of cake, but a piece of cake you are familiar with. I think that people who believe that they can't do it are incorrect and are actually able to if they put in the necessary time and effort. An easy mode would only lower the learning curve and the enjoyment of finally conquering your first Souls game. This leads directly into our next argument from the defendants. They believe that the difficulty is integral to the storytelling of Souls games, so lowering the difficulty will only create a tainted experience of the story. I can see where they're coming from. The world of Souls games are supposed to be dark and bleak, with you being the only chance it has. Your journey is not going to be easy and is not meant to be. You're supposed to respect the bosses and fear them. It's kinda hard to do that when you beat them with only a few tries. This world doesn't feel as meaningful when you breeze through everything. You won't be taking in any storytelling whatsoever, but instead just walking past it without a second thought. Sure, at first the game might be hard, but once you get over the now shortened learning curve, everything is downhill in terms of enjoyment. This is the reason why things like bonfires are such an iconic piece of imagery. Those of you who don't know, bonfires are checkpoints in Dark Souls. They are so iconic because you have to fight so hard in order to get to them, and when you finally do, you get an unmatched feeling of relief and satisfaction. Bonfires lose all meaning if you just walk from point A to point B. Same goes for the bosses. They are supposed to be extremely strong foes, and their strength is usually integral to the lore. These foes don't feel as unbelievably strong when they, aren't as unbelievably strong. The plaintiff's final argument is, who cares if your Souls game has an easy mode? You can just play it on the normal mode and leave those who play it on the easy mode alone. Does it affect the defendant's experience of Souls games? Well, yes, it actually does. Souls games aren't just hard because the enemies have a lot of health and a lot of damage. As I mentioned earlier, every Souls game has a learning curve, and this learning curve is a huge part of each game. Yes, even the Dark Souls games, which are the only Souls games that are actually part of the same series. There are new hidden items and weapons to find, new mechanics and systems to master. For example, in Dark Souls you have very little mobility aside from rolling, and then Sekiro comes along and now you have to do all this jumping, these grappling hooks, zipping to enemies, and hanging off ledges. This is a whole new layer of depth that has been added on. So what do? Flatten this learning curve? Maybe make all the Souls games the same? No, that would remove innovation and the Souls games would become stale. Give warnings that are exclusive to easy mode? No, this takes you out of the experience and breaks your immersion, plus there are already guides online. Change the level design to make it more obvious? No, then that affects people who don't play on easy modes as well. Lower the health and damage of enemies? No, because this would mean you'd have to adjust stun time, parry windows, hitboxes, and the amount of souls they drop. All the Souls enemies are meant to be exactly how they are, so if you affect even one thing like health, it throws the balance off. What about PvP and co-op? Separate matchmaking so people who pick easy mode don't match up with people who pick normal mode and vice versa. No, because good players will just make a new save file with easy mode selected. They enter PvP with a few good weapons and kill all the people playing. Remove PvP from the easy mode? Nah, this splits the player base. In fact, an easy mode will kind of just split the player base no matter what. I believe that an easy mode will do more harm to the Souls games than good. It's not because I'm a gatekeeper, it's not because I'm biased, it's because I have an opinion that is backed up with solid evidence and facts. Luckily, I don't think From Software will have an easy mode in their games anytime soon. I wasn't going to discuss what I want from an easy mode in Dark Souls games to look like if there was going to be one, but this video is already getting pretty long and I'm trying to get it out soon. If you have any other evidence that you want to present down in the comments on the Souls games, on why Souls games should or shouldn't have an easy mode, feel free to. After all, that's what community is for, right?